Conventional take on Abzan mid-range here for Sean has been working quite well. He's sitting at 7-1.
And the way that you describe the threat base for the Abzan aggro deck is really interesting to me, because most people that try to beat the Corsair crew fixes of the world try to either fly over them or try to play with you can't block effects like Frenzy Goblin or Firefist Striker from last year, what have you. Finding a roster of ground pounders that are cheap and can attack through those two cards, not easy to do. And that face-to-face build of Abzan aggro was able to find a mixture of threats that all line up very nicely against Corsair Crewfix's Sylvan Caryatid without being flyers.
Well, game number 1 of round 9 has begun. And Jungle Hollow is going to start here for Singer. He's up to 21. Jessup will draw cards. A copy of Sorin, Solemn Visitor, a Stand-Step Citadel, is what Danny will start off with. Number 20 on our Open Series leaderboard. Windswept Heath here for Singer. We'll see if he wants to get a white or a green before moving forward. He's going to go with the Plains. It's been a good run for him so far. I mean, we saw him earlier. I was very surprised to see, the man on this deck thinking he was maybe playing on a budget. That is not the case. He's making a Johnny Pridemate into a good card.
And we saw that week 1 in New Jersey, too. There were some builds of that floating around the room, but did not make that deep of a run.
There's an Air of the Wilds there for Jessup. 2/2 Death Touch. Ferocious, makes it a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger when attacking. But maybe ready just to trade right away, as here's a Thoughtseize. So for Jessup, we'll see his grip. He's got a Llanowar Waste. It's like a copy of Fleecemane Lion, a Hero's Downfall, Siege Rhino, Sorin, and then actually 2 copies of Fleecemane Lion. So again, 2 Fleecemane Lions, a Sorin, a Siege Rhino, a Hero's Downfall, and the 3rd land there in Llanowar Waste.
Pretty stacked hand.
Yeah, pretty good hand. Pretty good hand.
I would imagine this between Hero's Downfall and Siege Rhino. Not allowed to be gained by taking one of the Fleecemane Lions, and Sorin can't be cast. Pretty low impact card.
Hard to pass up on a Rhino. The card's so good. Sean does have some Rhinos of his own in his hand right now. But a real decision to make here with this Thoughtseize. Looks like he's going to go with the Downfall. So they're going to take their removal spell. Does Sean have another land? It looks like the answer is yes. Yeah, it looks like it may be a Blossoming Sands. He's going to start by attacking. Jessup can't block fast enough. Again, that does have Death Touch. Blossoming Sands going to come in. Going to gain Sean a life. Back to Jessup we're going to go. Caves of Koleos the draw. There's the Wastes. And that's the Lion. Jessup will take 1 to cast it. We're going to head back Singer's way. He will draw a land off the top. It's one of what looks to be many.
That was a big draw step right there.
Mm-hmm. And oddly enough, this is not the first time that we have seen Siege Rhinos kind of glut up the hand and have a bunch of them on the table. They come in packs. They really do.
Wikipedia entry be damned.
Yep, it's just not true.
They just hang out together.
Let's see what Jessup wants to do this turn. He's got a Rhino to cast if he wants to. He's also got that Sorin now that he's got 4 mana. Looks like he may have picked up a copy of Wingmate Rock. Not 100% positive on that, but there's the Rhino nonetheless. Jessup will gain some life back and drain Singer a little bit. Buckle up, kids. It's time for some Rhinos.
Buckle up, because we're driving at 35 miles an hour.
Rhino number 2. Drains and gains.
So if you still want to trade in your cards for other cards or product or online credit,
force the draw. Jessup's going to put that into play right away.
Now, just a reminder.
It looks like Jessup does have a copy of Wingmate Rock in his hand, just a 1-of in his main deck.
I mean, he could send in. I guess he could try to send in 1 Siege Rhino and hope that Sean is not willing to run a double block.
Yeah. The thing is,
this is safer.
You don't want to be wrong about that, because it gets really ugly if you do.
I can't give up a bluff like that.
You just got to try to get him?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a Citadel. Another Rhino, that's 3. Jessup's going to go down to 11. Singer's going to go up to 25.
So Danny has not been attacked successfully in this game and is on 11.
Caves the draw here for Jessup. He's going to put the land right into play. See, the tough part here is he's trying to get the most out of his wingmate rock, obviously. You know, he wants to be able to make he gets 2 3-4s out of the deal. But there isn't actually a good attack for him to make to do that.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. You know, he plays Soren and pluses it. He can attack with the Fleecemane line that's now a 5-4, so that's something.
Okay.
On the way back, his Siege Rhino is a 5-5, so it eats one of the it eats one of the rhinos. This is not great, but you know, if Sean's hand's nothing, then Soren's not a bad play here. He also gains some life, which is nice too.
I suppose that's true. I suppose that is true.
He can also play Soren plus it and just say go and hold the board up.
There's 2 mana. Maybe it's time for another lion. Looks like it is. Looks like now it's time for Soren. Gonna pump up the jam, maybe? It looks like he's looking for a 5, yeah.
This is not shabby for Dan.
It's not terrible.
He's got good blocks next turn if Sean makes any sort of move.
I guess the question now is he going to attack with the Fleecemane line or the Siege Rhino? Or nothing at all, you know?
I think at 25-9,
It's Rhino.
I think that I would send in the Fleecemane Lion.
Well, I actually like leaving the Fleecemane line back on defense because it's always going to be a 5-4 with lifelink back on defense that you can do nothing about. So that actually kind of makes some sense to me now that I'm actually seeing it happen.
Sure. The flip side of this is that Sean gets a pretty easy double block here.
And get to kill one. Trade Rhino for Rhino.
Sure.
And you get 5 life out of the deal.
The other scenario is assuming Sean has nothing, that you get to keep your Rhino.
Sure.
Because your 5-5 is blocking a 4-5 instead of attacking into a bunch of 4-5s.
Sure. In this situation, you know, you get to eat a Rhino here with your Fleecemane line.
Well,
so this is pretty good.
If Sean's running an attack here, this is a great play by Danny.
Yeah. Soren's going to go down to 1.
Yeah, Danny's got to be thrilled that this happened.
This exchange is so good for him. He gains all this life. And this is all to get a Wingmate Rock into play. And don't get me wrong, Wingmate Rock is very powerful, and flying against the Abzan mid-range deck is very powerful too. The problem here for Singer is that Jessup has a Wingmate Rock of his own.
And Danny gets to run back last turn. He gets to plus Soren, have good attacks this turn, play a Wingmate Rock on defense.
Yep.
And look, he went from 11 to 19 over these last couple turns, or he was at 9 or 10 from Painlands, and now he's right back into it.
Soren is a card that initially I did not think was going to be all that great. And making a 2/2 for 4 mana is not all that great. And then, you know, +1/+1 lifelink. Sure, that's okay. This card's way better than I ever thought.
If you are playing a mirror match where it's a bunch of power is X and toughness is X+1 threats, Soren seems awesome.
Yeah.
Your Siege Rhinos are 5/5s to their 4/5s. Your Wingmate Raw tokens are 4/4s against their 3/4s. The math lines up really nicely.
It's impressed me every time I've seen it. Here's Temple. You see Jessup's last card is the Rock. I'll leave that card on top.
Very impressive that Danny's weathered the storm of all these Rhinos.
And Danny can even make a turn here where he just says, okay, I'm going to up Soren, attack with the non-monstrosity Fleecemane line because it's a 4-power attacker. If you want to block, that's cool. You can. Or you can just make this attack because clearly there are going to be no blocks here, and then you get to slam down the Rock.
Yep.
Either way, Raid was going to be accomplished for Wingmate Rock this turn. I think Jessup's going to take 1 here to cast it. A little bit of a painful mana base, but thankfully Soren's here to gain some life.
This deck's very good at gaining life.
You know, pass the turn back over to Singer. Singer going to draw a card. You know, that one turn where Jessup just activated the Monstrosity and Fleecemane line and passed the turn back, wasn't sure how great of a turn that would be, how much of an impact that would have. Well, now it's having a huge impact on the game.
It's not really clear if Sean can get that Fleecemane line off the table at all. He's just got to work around it.
Yep.
It's very hard to do.
And that in combination with Soren is looking very difficult to beat because, again, a 5-power creature against Siege Rhinos and friends is really difficult.
Yeah.
You can see Singer is having some difficulty in this situation. They've had a lot of the same cards, and Sean's already drawn and played 3 copies of Siege Rhino. There's a downfall. Now it's time to get attacking. There will be a Wingmate Rock trigger so long as Singer does remember it to gain a little bit of life here. But the Soren effect does not actually take place on the rock token or the wingmate rock.
It looks at the things that were in
We're
play.
in play, yeah.
In R&D vernacular, we refer to these sort of things as hats versus clouds. A cloud is something that lingers over all of your permanents regardless of order, and a hat is something that looks at the stuff that was in play.
Ah.
So Soren is a hat, not a cloud.
Look at that R&D
Puts
vernacular.
a hat on everything it sees.
What a nice guy.
Yep.
You can have a hat. What kind of hat is it? Like a fedora?
Like a fedora.
Nice.
Whereas Jace is Jace, Architect of the Thought, is a cloud. If I play a haste creature and attack you, you can still trigger your Jace. It's not looking-
Cumulus or Nimbostratus?
Do not know.
You guys need to work on your vernacular.
Well, I haven't been in the 4th grade where we learned about that kind of thing for many years.
Should have paid attention in class.
Yeah, I guess.
Should have done.
Really would have mattered for how things turned out in life.
So now you see Jessup's at 23. Soren is off the table, yes, but you know, for Singer, how does he work himself through this? I guess even though Jessup has worked his way back into this game, it's certainly not over. Siege Rhino's holding the ground, and then Jessup's got this wingmate rock and the rock token, just giving the beats.
And if Sean finds some way to get this token off the table, then the skies are completely clear for Sean. There's the old death dealer.
Good early, good late. Could actually start pushing some damage through with that.
Problem is Sean's life total is so high and
It's only going up.
Yep.
Yeah. There's the attack again. There's your trigger.
And Sean really in no rush to do anything here. Just can attack for 6 and pass back, sitting on his reactive cards.
Weird spot in this game. Trying to figure out what both players are kind of trying to draw to. There's an activation. Fleece main line.
And
That's
Sean
good.
had an opportunity to kill in response, but I think he's saying all I care about is covering myself against flyers.
Yeah.
Or this death dealer. You know, without a Soren in play, these Fleece main lions really aren't worth that much on the offensive.
Jess's best draw here might just be Soren. He's got 2 more to draw to.
I think another wingmate rock would be a lot of help.
Yeah, it'd be good too. Yes, it's true.
Although there's only 1 in his list, so forget that.
Rhino's blocking. Jessup's reaching. He's got enough mana to pump once, pump twice, and regenerate in case anything goes wrong.
It's a lot of damage, though.
Yeah?
He gets to take 3 points of damage for 3 pumps. He's got Forest, Temple, and Triland, and the rest are Painland, so it's 3 points if he wants to go down that road.
Well, there's the first pump. There's the second pump. So it's a 6/6 now. I got to take 1 to do so. And he says, how about an Abzan Charm? Okay, see you later. Exile.
Mm-hmm.
No regenerates allowed. And now Jessup's at the point here where I think he has a Death Dealer in his hand because he wanted to play kind of naked here.
Well, there's also the issue of it's 2 damage.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to take it. Going to go down to 13. There it is. Singer going to untap. Last card in his hand is the Hero's Downfall. We're going to add a card to it in just a moment.
I think we're going to see that downfall go right after that rock token.
Start beating down in the air. Would certainly make some sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yep.
Sean's draw has been excellent this game. No 2 ways about it.
There's a Johnny's Pride mate.
That's a combo.
Trigger. Gain some life. Thanks.
Not that the ground is really available for Sean to be attacking on, but it is something.
Jessup's going to untap. No wingmate rock to draw to. Soren, where are you? I think it may have been a Herald tournament.
Which is not shabby if the light tolls weren't so disparate right now. I mean, he can put it on like the Fleece Main line and kind of mode up.
Yep.
But he is slowly going to get chipped away. And I think he still has to take a point of damage. No, he has two pain-free sources of black.
Yep.
He can bestow it without taking damage.
He's got the Temple of Malady and the Sansep Citadel out there, so he's okay in that regard. That's really about it, though. This Wingmate Rod has made things very difficult.
Well, in fairness, he can send in the Death Dealer this turn pretty safely, because most likely what Sean says is no blocks.
Sure.
And then you have your Fleece Main Lions. I don't know, you can get a little bit of offense going. Or you're at least drawing to Soren at that point.
Oh, there's the bestow. Pass it over. See what Singer's able to draw this turn. Still doing pretty good this game.
Though given the quality of Sean's draw, it is closer than one would expect.
I do agree.
I mean, Sean, he drew his 4th mana on time. He's drawn a ton of removal.
3 Rhinos.
3 Rhinos.
There's Jungle Hollow. Bump up the jam there. That's a 4/4. Jessup's just trying to hold on right now. Again, he did a great job of stabilizing the game, but you can thank Soren for that. Everybody.
Yep, I like this a lot.
Me too.
Because the problem with saying go here is that if Danny starts ripping removal spells, he might kill you before the Herald finishes off, and you may not get another opportunity to attack. So this forces, probably, I guess, the Death Dealer has to chump block in this scenario, because the only thing the Fleece Main line can go in front of is either a 5/5 or a 4/5. And the Death Dealer can block and regenerate, but that's 2 points of damage.
You don't want to take that.
One of your Wingmate Rods gets to connect, that's 3 points of damage. Now the Herald really starting to add up. So I think this is a very good attack from Sean.
And if you're Jessup, you're only getting one thing off the table, really, which is probably the actual copy of Wingmate Rock,
Yeah.
not the token. And you're not really accomplishing all that much. I think that's the big issue. This is a really, really good attack here from Sean Singer.
I think a lot of people instincts would initially be just to say, all right, say go, don't do anything risky, and let this Herald start working, but this is a very good attack. If Danny elects to regenerate, that's 2 points of damage, plus the rock token is 3 more, that's 5, plus the Herald trigger, Danny's on 1.
Yeah.
And at that stage, it's basically Herald or bust, not even another Wingmate Rock. Not that he even has it in his list, but even if he did, that wouldn't be enough.
Siege Rhino would buy him a little bit of time.
Yep.
Stuff. There's not a lot. So I don't think the Death Dealer can regenerate in this situation for the reasons that you just laid out. And I think Jessup's probably going to come to that conclusion here in just a moment.
Well, the problem is that you're leaving a 5/5 or a 4/5 uncontested.
Yep.
So regenerating is bad, but not regenerating is also bad.
So it didn't take long for Pridemate to grow and become relevant in this game.
Yep. Sean drew it on turn 7 or whatever, and it's kind of easy to laugh at, but Wingmate Rod triggers and 1 jungle base, and here we are.
Yep. It's funny, too, because drawing a land in this circumstance oftentimes would be bad, but, peeling off a Jungle Hollow in this situation made it so that the Ajani Pridemate was a relevant attacker on this turn.
Yeah. So I think in Danny's situation here, the only thing to think about is Soren my top card? And what is the best block or chump for me to do if Soren's on top? I guess he wants to give himself a couple more draws at it.
Which I would be good with. Because the Siege Rhino turns things around here, too.
Yes and no. It's not. It still has to be Soren eventually, because
Yes.
otherwise the Herald's going to kill.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Siege Rhino is some time.
Did not get a great look at that draw. Fleece mainline, perhaps? Yes. That's not great.
Well, it means we're still back in the holding pattern.
Yeah, but Danny's not. I mean, Danny's not advancing his board at all.
Yeah, correct.
That's the big problem. I mean, drawing that card means he's not dead, which matters. But he needs better draws than that one. Pass it back. The Herald clock ticks down. Jessup's going to go down to 2. See what he draws. It's a Temple of Silence. That's going to come in. Time to scribe. Okay.
Oh.
That looked like the quick keep.
Well, I think the only things that are capable here are Sorin and Siege Rhino.
Yeah.
That's it.
There's the Citadel. Singer flooding out a little bit now. His other card in his hand is a land. Jessup does get to activate Monstrosity without taking any points of damage. Untap. It's time to draw. He's down to 1. Yes, sir.
There it is.
It is the Solemn Visitor. There is Sorin.
Wow.
At the best possible time. And now there's a world that exists where he says, up on this, attack with everyone.
Well, I think he wants to protect his Sorin a little bit more than that. If he attacks with everyone, yes, that's a lot of life, but the Sorin might die. I guess his board is so commanding at this point, maybe he can afford to do that.
I mean, he's good. If he attacks with everyone, he gains 5, 10, 15. He gains 18 life. He goes to 19. If he attacks with every creature that he has in play right now. Fleece Mainline's a 7/7 with the Herald on. The other ones are 4/4s, so that's 7, 11, 15. Everyone gets +1 from Sorin. That's 3 more. That's 18 life. He goes up to 19.
But the thing
And there are no good blocks on Singer's side?
well, the flip side of this, I guess the risk of doing this as Hero's Downfall is pretty bad for Danny now because he didn't gain as much life.
Sure.
But this way the Sorin is untouched.
See Plains and I believe a Johnny Pridemate. He took a more conservative attack because there's the Pridemate, which is understandable. The Singer's just going to pass the turn back. If you're Jessup, you probably sense some weakness here.
Yeah, it's not doing very much. He clearly drew that card. He would have played it last turn.
Yep.
So what's in his hand's probably not a removal spell. I guess it could be a removal spell because he can't target anything.
I suppose that's true. A card like Bile Blight or something.
Yeah.
Jessup's going to move up Sorin again.
I mean, this still maybe only send one attacker.
And he's being very careful about how everything's set up here. So now, here's the attack with the big one. It looks like he's going to go with the flyer. This will gain him the most life. And 7/7, 8/7 with Sorin. Jessup's going to gain 8 life, deal 8 points of damage. He's really starting to turn this game around again. Singer needs a draw that matters right now. He drew, I believe, a copy of Sorin himself.
Yeah, that's
he
his
has
own
2
copy.
of those.
But his Sorin's a lot worse
Yep.
than Danny's because his creatures can die in combat. This is the best I've ever seen Fleece Mainline be in a game.
Incredible, this game.
Over a year and change of standard play, and this is the best I've ever seen it.
Singer deep in the tank here. How to use this Sorin. Don't forget, Jessup's creatures on the back end have +1/+0 as well, because it does last through the entire turn.
Exactly, that's part of the complexity here. I mean, he can just go upstairs and pump the rock and attack, but then his Sorin just dies on the way back due to Jessup's flyer. But making an Alpha Strike does not accomplish very much at all.
Yep, he's going to go after it looks like. And as you mentioned, yeah, an Alpha Strike seems outright poor, really.
Yeah.
This is going to get a little bit smaller now. These Pridemates are going to grow a little bit. That could be relevant. Singer's last card is just a Plains. Singer going to analyze the board here, touch, before passing the turn back. Trying to act as though he has a little bit of strength here. As Jessup's going to go down to 12 from the Herald Torment trigger, draw a copy of Windswept Teeth. So now he's starting to draw lands too. Both players with Soren's out here, so now let's see how Danny wants to manage his. Starts by moving the elevator up. You have to imagine that Flying Fleeceman line is going to go after that Soren, at the very least.
And Danny's not really in a position to attack for lethal. And it's a lot of life that Sean gets to gain if it sticks. Maybe there's a question if there's any other attacks to be mustered up here, but I think Sean has too much defense.
Yep, gonna get some more life back. Gotta get that Soren off the table. Now for Jessup, he's going to lose his Soren, but I think this Soren has done enough. Because what Jessup is winning is the Sky Battle.
Not only the Sky Battle, but his life total is now comfortably out of range of anything too bad happening.
Yep. As for Singer, Singer has to attack that Soren. Unless he draws like Hero's Downfall or something, but he has to kill that thing.
Yes.
See what he draws. Not get a great look at it.
Which opens up 7 damage on the back end.
Yep.
And then he gets attacked.
The race favors Danny then. And heaven forbid Danny draws another copy of Herald Torment.
Looks like Sean has just drawn his 4th Siege Rhino, but I don't even think that's gonna. It doesn't even really matter.
Strange to say that Siege Rhino doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think I'm right there with you though. There goes the Soren finally. There is the Rhino. It's a little drain, a little gain. Now Jessup's going to sacrifice the Windswept Teeth. Going to get a land out of his deck, tin things up a little bit here. Don't forget, Singer's had a Windswept Teeth in play for some time now, opting not to sacrifice his.
Well, he does have, 4 coursers still floating around somewhere, so.
Yep. Oddly enough, as this game goes, Jessup hasn't drawn, I don't think. He's drawn 1 Siege Rhino on his side.
But Siege Rhino isn't even in a high-impact card at this stage.
Not in this stage of the game. Yeah.
It's pretty close to just Lightning Helix you, because the 4/5 body doesn't even matter.
See what Jessup draws here. Urborg. Not too thrilled with that one. This is where things get a little bit complicated, I think, for Danny, too, because you see it's at 15, Singer's at 22. Not sure if Jessup can attack this turn or not with the flyer.
So the blocks on the way back that save him the most are in front of Siege Rhino, in front of the 5/5, so that's 4, 8, 11 that comes across.
Mm-hmm. He might have to pump the brakes again.
Yeah, Sean now, his life total is so high.
And it's funny, but what has caused a lot of this problem are those Pride Mates. Because there are a lot of times where, you draw a 2-mana threat that doesn't really matter, but those things keep getting bigger. That's a 7/7.
Yep. And now, and as you mentioned, Danny's got to stop.
Singer draws his card. Did not get a great look at it. May have been a Courser, and now we're going to have a little bit of incremental advantage in those Pride Mates getting a little bit larger. There's a Courser. He's going to play his land. Trigger both of these. Looking at an 8/8 and a 5/5 now. And because he's got that fetch land in play, no guarantee that he draws a Courser the next turn.
Though the Courser might be a good enough of a draw next to these Pride Mates. I guess it's kind of on diminishing returns. I guess it doesn't matter if they're 20/20s or 18/18s at the end of the day.
Jessup's going to take one again. Oddly enough, Jessup needs a Papa Soren again, I think. There's Windswept Teeth. Kind of slams that down in frustration.
Well, it's just, Danny's had to try to overcome so much this game.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt at multiple stages like he finally did. And now this is happening.
Pride Mates are going to grow again. Singer's going to gain even more life. We'll take a look at the top card here in just a moment. It's really funny. When I saw the deck list with the Johnny Pride Mates, And, the Blossoming Sands and all that stuff, I was thinking, just couldn't get all the cards, I guess.
Yep.
Definitely wrong.
Or I guess it's good if you have the Primate on turn 2, but turn 8 rolls around and it's no good.
Yep.
Nope, that's not true either.
Wrong again.
There's so many triggers in this deck for it.
Yeah, this deck has no difficulty in making that thing large. And everybody's going to come into the red zone now. And I like this because he's so high, he can make an attack like this because these Primates are so big that Jessup has to block them. He basically has no choice now.
Yeah. And they're not dying.
Yeah,
they're not dying.
And they're bigger than the Rhinos.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jessup would like to, snag that flyer with his Herald of Tormented creature. But then those Rhinos are going to come crashing through. Maybe he does get to eat the flyer. Maybe he eats a Rhino. I'm not entirely sure how Danny wants to block her. You can see he's just got Nurborg in his hand. But he's in a world of trouble now because these Primates are so big.
And it's awesome that Sean's been able to just overpower 3 monstrous Fleecemane Lions on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
This is not an easy thing to do.
So there's your block. Bye-bye, Rhino. Some damage is going to come across here. We can't forget about the Herald of Torment kind of ticking time bomb, too.
Yeah. Puts a lot of pressure on Danny to act first with an inferior board and an opponent at 25.
Danny going to sacrifice this fetch land, finish deck out a little bit. Every point counts.
Well, I don't know if that's true in this instance because he just might be dead if he doesn't find something like Sorin.
I don't even know if Sorin saves him now.
Sean is not hitting him in small increments.
Yeah. Danny going to do a little math here. He's not going to sacrifice. He'll just draw a card. It's a copy of the Death Dealer. And that one's okay. What that basically does is says, okay, big Ajani Primate, I've got you on lockdown. But he had a lot of ways to do that, of course.
Well, the problem here is it's 6 creatures on 4 creatures. Mm-hmm. So the best case scenario from Danny in terms of preserving his life totals, 2 copies of Corsair Crufix cut through. And that means he's on 2 with that Herald triggering.
Yep, the ticking time bomb. These are going to grow a little bit larger. The Singer's going to sacrifice his Windswept Teeth and go get a land. And of course, that will trigger the life gain from the Coursers, which will make the Primates bigger.
Doesn't really matter. They're phage at this point. I mean,
they're gigantic. The old phage reference. Don't get that one all the time. Manic Influence is the draw. Sandstep Citadel is the top card. That's going to come in. These guys are going to grow even more.
13-13.
He's just having a ball.
10-10.
See the top card here from Corsair. Oh, a Sorin.
Sure.
Danny might have to tap the mat soon.
Well, he gets out of this turn. He can survive this turn.
But can he survive the next one? Is there a draw in his deck that allows him to survive the next one? I'm not convinced that there is, and I'm looking at the clock in the middle.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. I'm seeing it wind down now to under 17 minutes. Probably under 14 or 13.
Danny has no cards in hand. His hand is forced on the block because he can't take 5.
Yep.
And everything besides the Corsair does at least 3 points of damage. So
I love shoving with everyone again.
Yeah.
Just like Sean did last turn. And Sean hung back with the Coursers last turn. I like turning them all sideways.
I don't even know. Well. Why not wait one more turn and just win with the Sorin? Because Sean loses a fair bit of his board on an Alpha Strike.
Okay.
And then if Danny rips a Sorin, now all of a sudden there's all sorts of trouble.
Okay. Well, looks like he's hanging steady.
Danny's already on draw Sorin or bust. I guess another creature gives him a block, but
Let's see what this draw is. Abzan Charm.
well, yeah, that is no help because the Corsair goes to 3 power, so he goes down to 1, and then the Herald trigger kills him.
Gotcha. Sean Singer wins game number 1 here over Danny Jessup. Abzan mid-range up a game here over Abzan Aggro.
A marathon, and that's That's a heartbreaker for Danny because it seemed like he was so close to getting over the hump there a few times. And Sean early on drew enough rhinos and removal spells to really prevent Danny from getting anywhere. And then once the game slowed down, those Pride Mates were a big deal.
Take a look at the boards, my friend. You've got Danny Jessup's in front of you. What's he got to start?
2 Bile-Blight, 2 Despise, 2 Drown Sorrow, and Erase, a Silence the Believers, a Whip of Erebos, another Wingmate Rock, and a Ajani Mentor of Heroes, an Unravel the Aether, a Nissa Worldwaker, and a Hunt the Hunter. So I just like basically the mirror match cards here, which are creature removal spells and additional power. So Hunt the Hunter, Nissa Worldwaker, a Ajani Mentor of Heroes, the additional Wingmate Rock, the Whip of Erebos, the Silence the Believers, and the 2 copies of Despise all seem very good to me in the matchup.
Other side, I've got Nurborg, another copy of Sorin, an Utter End, an End Hostilities, a Perilous Fall, 2 Liliana Vests, an Empty the Pits, a Silence the Believers, 3 Bile-Blight, and 3 copies of Drowned Sorrow. Silence the Believers is the one that stands out to me the most.
Much the same thing is going on here. You just want more removal spells and more Haymakers. So the Planeswalkers, Empty the Pits, the Silence the Believers you mentioned, I think those are all good here.
Yeah, I like a lot of those cards and what Sean has access to. A lot of cards have impressed me this weekend. You know, Ash Cloud Phoenix early in the day looked very, very impressive. Magma Spray looked good, which happens to be an answer to the Phoenix.
Yep.
I was impressed by Jeskai Charm. A card I already knew was good, way better than I thought. And in this match alone, I've been impressed by Sorin, which is now proven it's way better than I thought, and a Ajani Pridemate.
And Fleecemane Lion.
Sure.
I mean, Danny would have gotten run out of this game really early on if it wasn't for Fleecemane Lion.
Some cards have really, really impressed me this weekend. There are cards, of course, that we all know are good. Courser of Crucifix, you know, Siege Rhino, Wingmate Rock. We all know those cards are good, but you know, when I see a Ajani Pridemate show up on a deck list, sitting at 7-1, and see it be very impressive in that game, makes you reevaluate some things.
Sean's play's been really impressive.
Yeah.
You know, we've had him on camera a couple times now. He's played very sharp.
You don't just show up with this deck. You don't just show up with a Ajani Pridemate and Blossoming Sands, man. It's not a thing that happens.
Well, there's 2 worlds, right? There's one where you're building on a budget,
yeah,
and then there's the other where you're doing it on purpose.
Yep. This is doing it on purpose.
Yep.
And he's got foil Siege Rhinos over there. I know that getting cards is tough for him.
No. Foil Heroes Downfall.
Yep. Looks like Jessup's going to take a mulligan here. Just gives you another element of, you know, is it Pridemate better than Heir of the Wilds or Rakshasa Death Dealer? Not entirely sure. Definitely easier on the mana.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Yep. I mean, you could basically say it's a 2 mana with 4/4, 5/5 on average.
Well, you know, it has to be on time and in your opening hand and all that kind of stuff, but definitely we saw some awesome draws involving it.
6 cards here for Jessup, our standard open champion in Baltimore. Saw him start off with the Temple of Malady. Now he's got a Citadel before passing the turn back. Singer has a Citadel of his own. Make it a second one, pass the turn back. Over to Jessup. Jessup will draw. Temple of Silence. Top card, we'll see where it's going.
And this is part of the reason I like the mid-range deck in the matchup is, you know, it's hard for Danny to leverage too much of an early game advantage. And then Sean just has better tools as they move to the mid game.
There's no running him out of the gym.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. See what Singer can do on his 3rd turn here. So he's got a Fleecemane Lion. Another Sandstep Citadel. So he'll play the Tri-Land, play the Lion, pass the turn back. Maybe we'll see him offer up the trade, who knows. Jessup drew a copy of Anafenza. Does he want to attack with this Lion, offer up the trade, or rather have it hang out a little bit? He's only 1 land away from Monstrosity after all.
I mean, Sean's blocking, so Danny's got to accept that that's the world he's living in.
There's Anafenza.
And that's why Danny's not running an attack this turn. He wants to have a trigger for Anafenza next turn. You saw Singer does have a Plains, has a Sorin as well. TikTok does go the clock. 10:30 and counting. I believe Sean with end hostilities in his hand. I think he's just trying to figure out how he can
Try to set it up.
get the most out of it.
There's Soren. Gonna make a vampire here.
And I think this is a play from Sean trying to induce Danny, oh man, attacking is not that good this turn. I guess I'll play another threat and say go, and then you get everything.
You need a hero's downfall to get through. All these creatures were going to die anyway. There's also a world that exists, right, where Singer's plan is to just play a land Monstrosity Fleecemane Lion and set him up where he's left with the Fleecemane Lion after end hostilities.
Yeah.
You can see that as well. If you're Danny Jessup, something maybe smells a little fishy. There's your blocks. Now something smells very fishy.
Yeah. So what would you say is the deal here, man?
And I actually generally dislike this block because it is so fishy, right?
Yeah, you can see Danny's like, okay, yeah, your 2 creatures are dead. It's your turn.
And like, I can't imagine Danny playing another creature now. Like, I'll play Siege Rhino, your turn. Like, I don't think that world exists.
Well, I think Danny might just be going monstrous now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Note, it's pretty important here that Fleecemane Lion is a 5/5 this go around instead of a 4/4. Thanks to an offensive counter, because now it can beat Siege Rhino in combat.
Yep.
Singer's gonna draw. I feel like Sean tipped his hand a little bit too much that he has a Wrath.
Yeah, that play might have worked in round 1, but it's not working in round 9 at 7-1.
Just too strange of a block. And now hostilities, it's just kind of bad now.
Yep. But what else is he going to do? I mean, this is a lot of pressure is in play right now.
Yeah, I think he just misused Soren that turn, because if you think about it, if he plays Soren the other way, which is just play it and pump, his Fleecemane Lion would be a 4/3 that previous turn, and offensive probably has to put the brakes on.
Yeah. Or maybe Danny's spending his turn casting Hero's Downfall of the Fleecemane Lion instead of just Monstrous, and then your end hostilities is very powerful again.
Courser can reveal Mana Confluence. There's Elspeth off the top. Gonna cash this in here for another Vampire. So 2/2 flyer out there along with the Courser of Crewfix. Again, Elspeth on top of the deck. 5 lands in play for Singer. Has a Jungle Hollow, an Urborg, and then hostilities in hand, but Jessup saw right through that and hostilities.
Yeah.
And he's ready to start attacking again. Here's the trigger. South Fleecemane Lion is a 6/6. And doesn't plan on going anywhere anytime soon.
Players in the open, next time. Active players finish the turn. There are 5 minutes.
I'm not sure what Sean, Sean runs a double block here on the Anafenza. That's all sorts of risks too.
Absolutely. And you can see the Hero's Downfall. It doesn't even have to be that, right? It can just be a card like Abzan Charm.
Yeah.
That gets the job done too. He's just going to chump block with the Vampire. Jessup's going to move to a second main phase now. 2 mana. Looks like we're going to go Death Dealing.
Another card that does not care about end hostilities.
Yep. Now you can see how team face-to-face games got to this deck. Threats that are good early.
Yeah, it's quality the whole way through.
Yep. Plane's going to come off the top of the deck here. There's Elspeth. And I don't want to say Elspeth is bad on this board, but it sure ain't exciting. Jessup with the Hero's Downfall at the ready to take care of it.
It at least induces the downfall,
yeah,
which is a little something.
Bang. Get the Planeswalker off the table. Jessup going to quickly untap. He knows he's short on time and down a game. He'll draw a card. Copy of Case Colios. He'll get that land right into play. It's time to attack with everybody. We'll see where the counter goes to Anafenza. Looks like it's going to go with the Death Dealer this time. So that'll be a 3/3 with the potential for so much more moving forward. Singer's in a tough spot this game.
Yep. Well, the Fleece main line, again, he has to outpower like he did the last game. He can't kill this at this point. It's here to stay. And Danny clearly sniffed out
Oh, yeah.
that end hostilities.
Well, it's just that for a skilled player like Jessup, when the opponent makes a block like that, which is my Fleece main line in front of, your Fleece main line, that's a 4/4 and mine's a 3/3, and your Vampire token in front of my Anafenza, when Soren was so important for both of us in the last match.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Right. I didn't just fall off the turnip truck or whatever.
Yeah, I know this card exists in the format.
And now Danny's happy to add the Siege Rhino because he doesn't even care about end hostilities anymore.
Feel free.
Yeah.
I'll lose my Anafenza and my Siege Rhino. You'll lose your board. I get to keep my Death Dealer, which is a 3/3. Potential to be a lot more. And its Fleece main line's already huge. You can end all the hostilities you would like. See Sean contemplating his options here. He knows he's in a world of trouble now. Here's the 5 mana. Maybe not yet. There's Nurboard. Singer will gain a little bit of life. Hey, you don't say.
What were the odds?
And hostilities. Danny's going to pump here. That's not all bad. Because now it's time to delve. Murderous Cut. Let's look at that off the table.
And just confirming the graveyard count is right because some of Sean's cards got exiled due to Anafenza.
Indeed. Four mana, there's another Rhino. Game's looking tough here for Singer. He's able to clear some things up with the hostilities and the Murderous Cut. And he's going to pack it up. Danny Jessup going to tie things up here. I don't know if we're going to have time to make it all the way through a third game. These players are certainly going to try. You see there are about 3 minutes left, and I believe our clock is accurate. We will get confirmation from our table spotter.
Yeah, under three is going to be tough.
For Jessup, his deck is aggressive enough. He can do it.
Well, both decks can do it if the other person is missing land drops.
Sure.
Because Siege Rhinos can kill pretty quickly. But if both players have a functional draw, I think it's impossible.
How bad is the draw here for either player? Kind of tough to say.
A lot of it
players
depends on
here.
breakers,
Yeah.
you know?
534 players, of course, it does depend on tiebreakers, as it normally does here in a tournament. So if they both pick up a draw here, they're still in top 8 contention theoretically if they win the next round. So, and that game one, just the swings of it just took a long time.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything that really could have happened to change that, you know?
And the game was very complicated and took a bunch of turns.
Yeah.
So
Life was going up and down and all around due to Soren. What can you do? Both players going to try to get it done, though.
yeah, they shuffled up pretty quickly. Both players would like to win and probably lock up a top 8 slot.
Singer will be on the play here. We're underway. Scoured Baron. Going to put Singer up to 21. Jessup draws a card. Copy of Obson Charm. He's got a Citadel. He'll pass it back over to Singer. Singer going to play a Windswept Heath. It's a Fleece main Lion. Gets a Forest. Jessup will quickly untap and take a draw. Whip of Erebos is what he's found.
And I don't know if Danny really had the opportunity to do much sideboarding because of the concerns with the clock, but Whip in a 2-minute game is not going to do very much.
Not going to do it at all. There's an attack for 3. Jessup's going to go down to 17. We got under 1 minute on the clock now. Singer's got to play something.
Bolton, Abraham, Joseph.
There's another Fleece main Lion. All he can do is pass the turn back. So he's got an aggressive start, but he's stuck on mana. Jessup going to play a Windswept Heath. Does he have something to play is the question.
Here's that he has an Obson Charm.
Yep. He's going to cast that to get a line off the table. We're going to search up a Plains here. As I promised, Forest 4 Citadel will not get the job done. There's your Plains. In comes the Lion. Jessup going to take a little bit more. Singer drew a Caves that turn.
Can't cast the Courser in his hand.
Can cast the Hero's Downfall, though, which is what Jessup just drew. Second black source. 4 mana. It's Sorin. This is turn 0. That's going to tick down. The Vampire token going to come in. Hero's Downfall will take care of that. Singer will have to take 1 to do so. It's turn number 1. There's a copy of Mana Confluence. Fleeceman Lion will take care of the Sorin. This is a Courser. That's a Bile-Blight on top of the deck. I just don't think there's going to be enough time.
Yeah, this is going to be a draw here.
It's turn number 2 here for Jessup. Play Caves. Probably a Rhino. Yep, that'll gain him a little bit too much life. They'll play out their remaining turns, of course, but we're working our way towards a draw here. Singer's going to play turn number 3. Bile-Blight added to the grip. There's Llanowar Waste on top. A little trigger there from Courser. That'll gain Singer a little bit of life. Sorin Talon Visitor on top of the deck. The ability to go monstrous here with the Fleeceman Lion. But, you know, for Singer, I think this will be kind of interesting as far as lessons learned about how to try to set up a Wrath against a good opponent.
Yeah.
I think that's what anyone kind of watching this match will take away from this. You know, the block was really dubious. The use of Sorin was dubious, given how important Sorin was in game number 1 for both sides.
Just something didn't smell right.
Yeah.
And when Danny has the easy out of just monstrous Fleeceman Lions say go, then you're not going to get him there.
Yeah. I think that's what you take away from this match more than anything. I think both these decks look great. But I think we all know how good the Abzan decks are at this point. And Hostilities, Dune Blast, Mass Calcify, all cards that Arilax had in his sideboard, all cards that are on players' radars now from Abzan decks, be it mid-range or aggro.
Yeah.
So those are cards that they have to be cognizant of. Here's Bile-Blight's going to shrink that down a little bit. Means that Siege Rhino is going to actually lose the battle to the Courser. That'll get off the table. A little bit of damage will come through with the Fleeceman Lion. Singer's going to cast another Courser here. Keep battling here. Jessup's going to get 1 more turn. Comfortably knowing there's no way he could lose this game. It's just going to be a draw. Both these players are going to move on to 7-1-1. So we'll see how tiebreakers are going to end up for both of them when we see standings at the beginning of next round. If they can both win and make the top 8, that's really what it all comes down to now.
And I think we're in the type of tournament where it's going to be some of the X1-1s make it and some do not.
Yeah.
So this possibly eliminates these players or sets them up for a win in the next round.
Yeah, it really just depends how the tiebreakers do break. See, Jessup has a Hero's Downfall that he's going to fire off. Get the Fleeceman Lion off the table. He'll play a Death Dealer. There's Norborg out there. Pass the turn back. And it's the final turn. Elspeth, the top card of the deck. You see here in Singer's hand, he's got a Sorin, a Liliana, and then Hostilities. And if he had enough time, I think his hand's actually better than Jessup's.
Yes, does seem that way.
I think that's the tough part here for Sean. His draw is actually pretty good, but they are going to draw it up. So 7-1-1 is where these players will be as round number 9 will conclude. Predictably, that is our last match. So these players won't have a lot of time to really catch their breath and get ready.
Yeah, our round clock's already set.